Welcome, everybody. If you could, please silence your phones and have a seat. Let's have a good discussion tonight. Welcome to the Indian Rocks Beach regular city commission meeting. This is Tuesday, February 11th, almost Valentine's Day. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for a few moments of silence. Thank you. Lauren, would you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bigelow?
Present.
Commissioner Bond?
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner White? Vice Mayor Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Commissioner Hopper?
Here. Let's start with the presentations. I'd like to call for the report of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Corporal Munoz with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I'm here to give you guys, Mike, is this coming through here? I can speak loud enough. Corporal Munoz with the Sheriff's Office, here to give you a presentation on the summary for January activity. Year over year, we're doing pretty good. We have actually no property or person crimes to report for January. We do have a total of 6 people that were arrested in January, and those 6 people encompassed 8 different charges. There were 2 that were traffic felonies, 2 that were misdemeanor driving on a suspended license, 2 warrant arrests, and 2 violation of probation and community control violations. As far as self-initiated activity, we had a total of 673 events that encompassed 261 traffic stops, 140 direct patrols, 36 house checks, 32 911 hang-up responses, and 31 illegally parked vehicles that were addressed, in addition to 15 citizen contacts, and the rest were broken down between regular contacts, pretty routine building checks, and ordinance violations that were addressed and cleared out. No incident. We did have 1 crash. Location of the crash was 100 Windrush Boulevard. And there was a total of 288 citations and warnings issued. The gist of or the majority of those were 249 of those 288 were warnings. And that's it. That encompasses the activity for January. Any questions?
Does anybody on the commission have a question?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call for a report of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. Do we have someone here from the fire department? Okay, that's a no. Then I'd like to move on to the public comments. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern that they have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commission member, and no personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the City Commission. Who would like to come up to make a public comment? Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth Flynn, 914 Harbor House Drive. I understand that the focus has been on hurricane restoration and the STR issue, but I still feel it's important that we ensure existing codes and ordinances are being enforced, whether that be golf cart usage, dogs on the beach, excessive noise, etc. And that needs to include following all building codes and zoning maps. It feels like we're letting other things go by the wayside. Our community, its aesthetics, and our beach are too important to lose sight of the other guidelines in place, which are meant for the well-being of its citizens and its visitors. On a totally separate note, I'm curious to know what's going on with the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue Fire Chief situation and the impact that that could have on our community. It seems to be very quiet recently. They have a meeting tonight, so I'm guessing that's why they're not here. But I am concerned about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Carol Ritz, 466 20th Avenue. I actually just want to make a couple comments that are not just for you. Mainly because I know we have a lot of displaced neighbors and a lot of people that aren't here. I wanted to share a couple quick reminders for everybody. We have a general election coming up on March 11th for 2 of our city commission seats. If you vote in person, you just go to Bel Air Community Center. But if you prefer to vote by mail, I want to make sure you know that all mail-in ballot requests were purged by the county on December 31st. So, and not your voter registration. But if you prefer to vote by mail, I want to make sure you know that all mail-in ballots, forget it, I forgot my place. So what you can do is you can either go to Bel Air Community Center to vote in person, because you still are registered. Or you can go to votepinellas.gov to request a mail-in ballot this week. And I hope those of you that have displaced neighbors will share that with them. It only takes a minute, you put in a couple pieces of information, it pulls up the voter registration, and you can request your mail-in ballot. And next week, February 19th, at 6 p.m. is Meet the Candidates at the Church of the Isles on 24th. Thank you. See you there.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. David Whiteside, 436 Harbour Drive North. Just like to talk about the substantial damage letters and the gross inconsistency within those. You know, neighbours, you know, from one side of the street to the other side of the street, someone's got 40%, someone's got 90%. There was, you know, pretty much no accuracy in all of these. And really, I think as a city, we should be doing more to, you know, to address the inconsistencies and the inaccuracy with them. You know, it's a stressful point. You know, it's still on us to appeal for 60 days. It's just, you know, fairly shocking that, you know, and it's not just in your own speech, it's, you know, up and down. It just seems like it's been a very poor job, fully executed. We've, you know, most of us have really had 4 sets of, you know, reviews. You have an insurance adjuster that comes around and appraises everything. You then have to go through a permit process and say what it's going to cost. You have a contractor that's estimated it. These are fairly accurate estimates, and yet these substantial letters are being performed by an outside agency, just walking outside, looking, and saying, you know, oh, 80%, 40%, 20%, no accuracy. It's just holding up the whole process. God help, you know, we don't have another situation like this, but if we do, we need a better plan in place.
Thank you. Hey, John.
Good evening, and thanks, Carol. We have had a lot of people come, but they didn't realize they weren't going to be getting their mail-in ballots. That's really appreciated. I'd like to address the subject of unintended consequences.
John, can you please just state your name and your address?
Oh, I'm sorry, John. 448 Harbour Drive South.
Can you speak up, please?
Speak up. The problems of SDRs in Indian Rocks Beach residential areas were caused by prior commissioners, like in 2011, who either assumed they knew what they were doing or assumed what they were told was the full story. In each case, they didn't take the time to personally and thoroughly look at the potential consequences. We've seen how this has resulted in destruction in the peace, safety, and sense of community in residential neighborhoods. Now the same pattern is being repeated. We've had a rush to vote on a complex ordinance that the investors wrote. Residents only had a few days' notice to examine the agenda items in last month's meeting. Have you had sufficient time to examine each word and think about the potential consequences? The workshop was not even held, so it's on you, unfortunately. Please take sufficient time to examine in great detail any fundamental changes to IRB. Consider that a few commissioners thought voting yes last month would end lawsuits. It had the opposite effect. They were mistaken. Those cause additional lawsuits that are already filed and likely more to come. For those who don't have a house in a residential zone neighborhood, and that's the majority of the current commissioners, I feel it's necessary to tell you they are turning this into a hotel district. On First and Second Street, nobody would want to bring their family there. In fact, they're worse than hotels because they're unsupervised. Just this week, another friend of mine, 30-year resident, was selling her house. She's sandwiched between two short-term rentals, large ones, and in the same little cul-de-sac with 3 other ones. Nobody wants to live like that. Something has to be done. This may be a lame duck commission in the sense that we're having an election in March, and we may have different people on the commission. And they will not be chosen by the commission, they'll be chosen by the voters and residents in this county. And the voters and the residents might take a much harder line about what's happening. So people that are short-term rental investors ought to know there's a good chance by going for these absurd things that they've asked for, that we may come back with much more strict regulations in the early part of this year. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, John.
Hello, Kelly Watt, 431 Harbor Drive South. I would just like to make a brief statement. So Randy, I'd like to thank you for responding to my email. The email was about the city of Naples and their current short-term STR ordinances. And they have a provision where they prohibit short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. And so they are, per Randy's guidance, they were grandfathered because they had zoning restrictions in place before June of 2011. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, maybe there's some help for the city of Indian Rock Beach. So I went online and I looked at our website and I reviewed our ordinances and zoning restrictions. And it looks like pre-June 2011, that there are ordinances restricting, I'm going to read this because it's kind of archaic language, prohibiting hotels, motels, motor lodges, boarding houses, lodging houses, tourist courts, tourist homes, and single-family residential dwelling districts. So it looks like we have, in a similar situation to Naples, where they had existing zoning restrictions, it looks like the city of Indian Rock Beach might have the same situation. And so I was trying to find a document that explains how the city learned that we didn't have our grandfather anymore, how, I know lots of things changed, but I can't find an answer anywhere as to what transpired to get us to that point. And so I'm wondering if there's a document somewhere that I could be referred to that chronologically explains what happened and where it happened. Because I think there might be an opportunity to get, I think maybe we didn't lose it, but I think there's an opportunity. But if someone could please point out where that is, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Bob.
Hello, everyone. Bob Copeland, 447 20th Avenue. Thank you for everything again. You know, I think I mentioned once before, we're one big family. Sometimes the families don't get along. Hey, Bob. Mic up. And it's difficult with people in life and family, and often it gets emotional. It's hard to separate emotions from why people have certain feelings. So you need to understand nobody wants to talk for anybody else. We all respect and appreciate everything everybody's done in the past, everything they're doing now, everything they might still be doing in the future. But, you know, sort of an extreme comment is that sometimes you have to take the keys away from grandma. That's just kind of how it seems have gotten extreme. But it's not personal, we love Grandpa. He's taken care of us forever. We just want the best for him and the rest of us. So to that extent, I don't think anybody's happy to talk about the 2 lawsuits that were supposed on the city this week, that have been filed. And I'm just generally going to discuss one, and that is the lawsuit regarding 285 illegally licensed short-term rentals in our city. Facts are the facts. Complaints prepared by what I consider to be the largest law firm in the state of Florida. That's a Florida-based firm. It's spaghetti on the wall. I think there's like 135 exhibits, including the fire chief's fire safety inspection report. Only 217 short-term rentals in our city have received the state mandated, the fire marshal mandated, our short-term rental ordinance, our BTR license. Only 217 have gotten inspected, and the September 24 BTR report on the city's website says there's 502 licenses issued. So math says there's 285 that are not inspected. In dissecting that a little more, I looked at the 7 plaintiffs in the federal suit. And it appears from our record, from the fire chief's 217 and the city's 504, 5 of those plaintiffs have illegal short-term rental licenses for not having gotten fire safety inspections and shouldn't really be operating. One of them appears to be a dissolved LLC. Not sure how and why it was in the federal suit, but one of the members of that dissolved LLC personally owns short-term rental in the city, for which the records reflect they do not have a mandatory fire safety inspection. So therefore, it looks like 6 out of the 7 plaintiffs that are encouraging.
Sorry, Mr. Wilbur, 3 minutes is up.
Okay. That's the summary. 6 out of 7. Thank you much for your help.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, good evening, Dave Watt, 431 Harbor Drive South. I've lived here for 22 years now, and this is the first time I've really ever had concerns with the actions and comments that some of the commissioners and the city have made that are quickly eroding confidence and trust of the residents. Comments similar to, we live in a vacation area, as if we are not to expect peaceful residentially zoned neighborhood because of that. Notably, this is also a typical comment made by many short-term rental owners. Comments similar to, no matter what we decide, meaning the council, you just won't be happy. Treating the citizens like children who don't have a say in matters. This comment's particularly condescending and arrogant. Actions like willfully not enforcing parts of our existing ordinance. Actions like liking social media posts that disparage citizen groups. Actions like, it appears that plaintiff in lawsuit against the city requested no session to be held, work session to be held prior to last month's meeting to avoid resident comment and involvement, and that happened. Actions like, it appears that the plaintiff or plaintiffs in lawsuit against the city may have requested Commissioner Wyatt to attend mediation meeting, and that happened. This is my assumption based on rumor, because I can't get an explanation from anybody, and so you'll have to live with the rumor mill. I sent an email to all of you last week hoping to get an answer regarding that particular issue with Commissioner Wyatt attending, being the only one. I'm going to read it so everybody would know what I wrote. I addressed it to Hope, Randy, and Greg. After hearing that Hope was selected to attend the lawsuit mediation sentence, I am looking for clarification on some questions. Whose decision was it to have the commissioner attend the mediation? How was Hope chosen? Was there a vote held by the commissioners to choose? What was the intended purpose or outcome of attending that? This appears to be highly unusual and irregular and has the appearance of coercing a commissioner's vote to attend, to vote to change it from previous meeting of the same subject. That was the email I had sent. Again, I cannot think of one reason that only one commissioner would be invited to a mediation, and it does not sound like all commissioners will give them that same opportunity. Was this commissioner supposed to report her findings back to everybody else? Actions and comments like these give our cities the appearance of being suspect and untrustworthy, and that is not a good place to be. I would like to request Commissioner Wyant to recuse herself from further votes if this happens tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Robo, 112 13th Avenue. I heard somebody say something about meet the candidates, but didn't know where or what it was. I'm here representing IRB Home, formerly IRB Homeowners Association, that we will have a meet the candidates for our 4 candidates for the 2 seats on Wednesday, February 19th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Church of the Isles, 224th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach. 6 to 6:30 is a meet and greet with the candidates. 6:30 to 8 will be formal question session moderated by the League of Women Voters North Pinellas. Thank you. Hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi. Patty Katz, 124 13th Avenue. I'd just like to say I've put a lot of thought since the last meeting, and I found it very interesting that there was a lot of discussion, and yet the only person that was praised by the commission was one of the SDR owners that is suing Indian Rocks Beach. And I had to think, well, why? So what I would like to ask is, if you know that you're in cahoots with them, just step down. Do us a favor and step down. It would be a really honorable thing for you to do. Anybody that has that opinion and is fine with people that are suing our city and praising them against the community of residents should step down. Thank you.
Ron Hubbard, 406 12th Avenue. I've been a resident here for 12 years. I do not get very involved in politics of the city very often, but I've watched this whole situation very, very closely. One of the things I think we're missing is roles. The role of a county commissioner in this situation, you know, in 1700s, we had a representative democracy where the representatives had to go and give their own opinion, and their opinion was what would go. That was because of poor transportation, poor communications, and not having to touch with their constituents. That's not the case here. The case here is everyone knows what the majority of the people want. How do we know that? Well, we had a vote a few years ago on city council, and there was direct evidence of which candidates were for and which were against regulations for STRs. It was almost 70% in favor of the candidates who were for regulations. Now that's just data. The role now as a commissioner is to represent the people and what they want. Your personal opinion actually carries no more weight than any other single person in this room. You're allowed to have it, but that should not be what you vote on. Your vote has to be on what the citizen group wants. You can tell them that you don't think it's wise, you can present your case, but when you have this many people that show up, and if you say, well, that's not the majority of this place, well, they're the majority that care. Those who aren't here don't care. This group cares, and they care a lot. Your vote needs to be on what these people want, not on your personal opinion, not on what you think is best for the city. That's not why you're there. From the legal side, your deal is to give us, I agree, your risk manager, and to present the risk. You're not to say, as you did last time, and advocate it from the financial side. It's not up to you to say whether the city can afford it or not. It's up to you to say, this is what it could cost the city. We have financial people that can say we can afford this or not. If everybody stays in their lane, then the citizens win. Thank you.
Folks, just a statement on procedure. We are presently in the open public comment on any item not on the agenda. While you're, of course, granted some wide latitude, we will have a full hearing on the short-term rental ordinance. This portion of the meeting is traditionally for things that are not on the agenda. With that, ma'am, you can continue.
Thank you. Maureen Ballard.
Letter, yes.
Maureen Ballard, 436 Harbor Drive.
Sorry about that.
Commissioners, when you were either voted in by the citizens of IRB or in a few cases seated without being voted on, you accepted the responsibility to represent the citizens of this city and the city matters. This responsibility included listening to and gaining important knowledge of the city, citizens, and the needs and interests of their voters. I Googled these titles today. The commissioner acts as a liaison between the public and the city government to help make changes that will benefit the citizens. The mayor should ensure the city is kept clean and orderly, with opportunities for citizens to experience a good quality of life. A mayor sets the tone for the culture and the future of the city's operations. In tonight's vote on the short-term rental ordinance proposed changes, you have an opportunity to meet your responsibility as commissioners. Listen to IRB citizens that our current short-term rental ordinance is working and do not need to be changed. The IRB citizens deserve to be heard, and more importantly, have commissioners actually listen to their voices. I sat here in last month's commission meeting and listened for hours as citizen after citizen articulated how the current short-term ordinances in place were taking root. Citizens overwhelmingly and passionately did not want the commissioner proposed changes that are to be voted on tonight. My expectation of the commission and your position mandate is to listen to your citizens, only make changes that would benefit the majority of IRB citizens, and allow your citizens to have a quality of life, I apologize, by not amending the current IRB short-term rentals ordinance. Thank you.
Lee Wilkerson, 490 Harbor Drive North. Thank you for having the meeting for everyone. It's not a specific thought, but more a wide idea for all of us. And what an important time this is for our town, based on kind of a sea change that's going to happen with the real estate. Probably over the next 10 years, 15 years as things get rebuilt out. And we had a really good footprint with our residential zoning and our varied zoning, and that's what makes our town interesting, and keep a variety, just kind of like a varied garden, right? And if we can stay with that as we move forward and attract a good percentage of residents as we have over the years, then we will still have a vibrant town. If we focus on too much of one thing or another, which we never have, it seems like we're leaning a little bit too much more to the Disney and all of Florida on the coast. But I think it's really important that everyone keeps coming. We don't decide anything dramatic when we have this much tension, and that we really think big picture and long term on all of the decisions, all of the subjects, especially the parking, especially the traffic and the access and the people on foot and all of the transportation and how we're all interacting. And we need residents in order for the things to stay somewhat orderly. And it's, you know, going forward, just think long-term about what the decisions that you're making, because everything that's being decided now, anything that's changing or not changing, is going to be profound relative to who lives where in our town. There's going to be a lot of change. So thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Beth Mullen, 41 Harbor Drive South. I've been thinking since the last meeting about what transpired between the city and the short-term rental owner who provided housing for some of the residents that were displaced after the hurricane. I'm not comfortable with what happened. I just think it is really muddies the water based on the lawsuit that this gentleman has against the city and this particular vote. And I just haven't really been comfortable with finding that out. And I know perhaps the intention was good, but I just think it erodes trust. When something like this happens, when this very contentious situation is going on with the citizens and short-term rentals and trying to keep the peace in our neighborhoods, and this just really gets in the way with that trust. And I just think that it was a mistake. And I am following what I'm going to say.
Thank you, Beth. Anyone else? This will then close the public comment. I'd like to move on to the report of the city attorney. If you have a comment,
State your name and address for the record.
Major Susan Smith, U.S. Army retired.
I'm sorry. You speak?
Major Susan Smith, U.S. Army retired.
Thank you.
I've been all over the world. I served for a quarter of a century. This is where I chose to retire. And if we want it bad enough, we gotta fight for it. And hello to my neighbors.
this now closes the public comment. I'd like to move on to the report of the city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we're now in the second week of February, we are fast approaching legislative session. We just had a special session a couple weeks ago on immigration. The House and Senate reached an agreement that has been sent to the governor, though not executed, as reports today, perhaps yesterday, of another special session based on the executive branch's coordination with the legislative branch. We're following this closely, as these previous public statements have stated that there may be some obligations placed on local governments relative to this, so we will keep you apprised of that. Otherwise, as has been noted, the city's in receipt of additional lawsuits, and the mayor's been, it's my understanding the mayor's been served on those. Otherwise, I have nothing further to report at this time.
Thank you. Will you also be doing the report of the city manager?
Yes, Lauren, do we have the written element? Is that in the agenda packet?
It is.
What page is that on, Lauren? I haven't pulled up here. City manager is not in attendance tonight. City Manager's Report, February 11, 2025. First item, City Hall restoration. The city administration team continues to work with our various insurance providers on insurance claims. The city received an initial payment of $1,056,684.12. This payment does not include contents coverage or payment from our flood insurance company. Our contractor working with us has submitted permitting documents to Pinellas County. We are waiting for the permit. Once received, we expect construction to take several months. Item 2, beach accesses, Pinellas County Beach Access Park. All IRB beach accesses are open. The total cost to clear and open our accesses was approximately $987,200. The cost associated with this effort was clearing debris, sand, and in some cases, building step downs. In a combined effort by Pinellas County and Indian Rocks Beach, the Indian Rocks Beach Pinellas County Beach Access Park is now open. The beach chair vendor will reopen soon. Item 3, City of Indian Rocks Beach Nature Preserve. The City of Indian Rocks Beach Nature Preserve is closed until February 18, 2025 to complete restoration and maintenance activities. Per the adopted capital improvement plan, the Nature Preserve Boardwalk has been reconstructed. The total cost for boardwalk portion is $1,112,162. The Nature Preserve reopening event has been set for Tuesday, February 18, 2025 at 9 a.m. The public is invited to attend. 4 hurricane-related permits. The city team, along with our engineering firm Civil Serve, continues to work with property owners to secure renovation or demolition permits. The permitting portal is available on our website, and IRB City Hall team members continue to work with the public daily to complete required documents. Mike Kelly and Frank Pecoraro are available daily to assist property owners in completing them. They may be reached at 727-595-2517 or are available on a first-come, first-served basis at City Hall. Next item is Cold Park tennis lighting. A purchase order has been issued to Musco Sports Lighting to install new lighting at the Cold Park tennis courts, replacing the lighting that was damaged by the hurricanes. We expect this work to be completed within 90 days. Final item, vacation rental licensing. Vacation rental operators continue to voluntarily submit the required documents to start the vacation rental licensing process. Based on the pending actions of the IRB City Commission concerning Vacation Rental Ordinance 2025-01, the administrative team will adjust the registration documents if needed. 3 vacation rental operators who have failed to register with the city are tentatively scheduled to appear before the city's magistrate in April. Administrative activities associated with vacation rental compliance will greatly increase with the policy decision by the IRB City Commission concerning the pending IRB Vacation Rental Ordinance and team members' availability as we transition from public assistance from hurricane recovery to quote-unquote normal duties. This concludes the items in the manager's report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the reports of the City Commission. John, would you start?
Well, what I would like to add is there's a lot of people here that have a lot of question about what's going on with the ordinance. Some people believe there's some illegal activity going on. What I believe we need to do, the commission and the mayor, is we need to go ahead and evaluate it, have a workshop. And I would like to file a motion to hold the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-1 in order for us to be able to do this so that the residents can understand it better, so that the residents can contribute without being sitting there, having the decisions made by the commission and the mayor. I think if they are involved in it to a lengthy extent, it would help the entire city. So I want to file a motion to be able to put a hold on the second reading. And do I have anybody that will second it?
Commissioner, right now we're in commissioner reports. When we get to that agenda item, we can entertain motions on it, and that would be raised as a motion to table. Presently, in terms of business, we're just on the city commission reports.
So can I get a second on it or not?
It's a worthwhile question, sir. I'm opining that procedurally, I think it just may be premature. Whether you get one or not is of no import to me. That is, of course, it's this business's body that we're here to do. I was just saying, at this point, typically, based on your rules of procedure, we report on activities or anything else. When we get to that agenda item, that would be the appropriate time to interpose your motion, procedurally speaking.
So that'll be the agenda item under the public hearings.
6B.
Ordinance.
6B on the agenda, yes, Commissioner.
Okay. I didn't want to miss it.
I understand. I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Okay. So that's what I have to add as a commissioner tonight, for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And
Do you have anything for your report this evening?
I don't have anything to contribute at this moment. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. And Hope, do you have anything to contribute tonight?
I do not have a commissioner report. My heart has just been weighing on all of this nonstop, so other than that, it's not really bad.
That's it. Thank you, Hope. Vice Mayor.
I would just like to address some misconceptions that I have heard. One, I was appointed in November of 2023 to fill the vacant seat when Joe McCall resigned, but I successfully ran for that seat and was elected to it in March 2024. I was asked to seek that seat by several individuals because of my experience in Ohio working with legislative issues and citizen-led campaigns. Prior to my appointment, unless you were a dog park parent, worked out with IRB Fitness, did yoga at Zen, or lived between 7th and 9th Avenues, you probably had no idea who I was. I try hard to support each local charitable group when asked to help with events, and my husband, and if they were still alive, my parents, would assure you that I don't do anything just to please someone, and definitely in no one's pocket. I'm stubborn, and as most career educators do, I do tend to gravitate towards the underdogs. I listen to all sides, much appreciating the ones emphasizing data and not so much the drama guys. I do my own research and form my decisions based on many factors that I feel pertinent to an issue. And then to my legislative side, I would like you to take special time as we go into legislative session to look at a House Bill 401 that Bernie Jacobs, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his last name correct, from House District 59. It is on residential land use development regulation. And also, please look out for DeSantis' bid to overhaul ballot initiatives. This would make it virtually impossible to gather enough signatures to place items on ballot. It wasn't successful when he brought it up in special session, but I really don't think it's gonna die that easily. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well, I attended the Big C meeting at the end of January, and the biggest discussion there was about the easements for the beach renourishment. Indian Rocks Beach currently, I think, has 93 signed, and that's about 52% of the residents. So we have a deadline of March 1 in order to get the rest of those easements done. It doesn't look likely. I contacted John Bishop of Pinellas County this week, and he said he's only received 2 additional ones. On February 13th, which is this week, he's going to host a Zoom explaining what everything means about this sand replacement. And it is from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It is on our website underneath the beach renourishment under the hurricane resources. So if you need a link to where to sign that, if you have any questions about the beach renourishment, you need to email signforsand@pinellas.gov. You know, because a lot of this, our whole short-term rental thing, our whole beach, everything, if we don't have a beach, then there's no reason for anybody to come here. We don't have sand, what are we doing? We don't have anything to enjoy. And essentially, that's what he showed in his presentation at the Big C, that after some of the bigger hurricanes we've had here, there was, 5 feet of sand out the back door. So That's important that we take a critical look at that. The other thing we discussed at the Big C is that all the mayors agreed that they wanted to send a joint letter to President Trump and the new administration requesting that we get further help with our permits and further help with removing the perpetual easement from the contracts, so that when people sign their easements, it's no longer a perpetual easement. They want me to sign that letter on Friday, and I need approval from the commission to sign a letter to ask President Trump to help us. John, do you approve of me to sign that?
I approve.
Do you approve?
I do.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I prefer we do not join that letter.
Thank you. Oh?
Yes.
Okay. That's 4 votes, so we're going to sign that letter on Friday and move on. I don't think I have anything else to add this evening, so let's move on to additions and deletions. We have none? Okay. Then let's move on to the consent agenda. Randy, would you read, please?
Happily, Madam Mayor, there are 2 items on the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the January 14, 2025 regular City Commission meeting minutes, and item B, to receive and file the December 2024 year-to-date first quarter financials. These are the 2 items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the public hearing. Randy, would you read, please?
Happily, Madam Mayor, we are on item 6A, Board of Adjustment 2025-01, a quasi-judicial proceeding for 2117 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. This is a variance request from section 110-372 sub 5 of the Code of Ordinances, requesting reduction of 1 parking space, resulting in a total of 11 parking spaces, and from section 110-375, requesting a reduction in the aisle width of 2 feet, resulting in an aisle width of 22 feet for property located at 2117 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Lot 1, Block 49, re-revised map of Indian Rocks Beach, according to the plat thereof, recorded in plat book 5, page 6, of the public records of Pinellas County, Florida, parcel 0130144230490010. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Commissioners, in a quasi-judicial hearing, you are no longer making the law, but rather applying the law to establish criteria based on the competent substantial evidence presented to you this evening. Before we begin, if any member of this commission had any ex parte communications with the applicant, their agent, or any other party to these proceedings?
No.
No. All having responded in the negative, has any member of this body conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating this application? I do not mean that you are aware of the site by virtue of your residency in this community, but rather you specifically went to the site for the purpose of informing your decision-making this evening.
No.
No. All having responded in the negative, I wish to add that as Member Bond is not here, and this is a quasi-judicial hearing where they are receiving evidence, Member Bond will not be voting on this item. With that, we will begin by having anybody who intends to offer any testimony or evidence, please, concerning this particular quasi-judicial hearing, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are, right, thank you, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. With that, procedurally, we will start with city staff, then the applicant or their agent may come forward and make a presentation, and then we will, so, Eddie, if you could begin.
Hello, usually we do have a PowerPoint, it's in the package, but we're on limited visuals today. So this project is at the corner of...
Eddie, can you just speak into the mic and make sure it's on, please?
All right, and it's on the corner of 22nd Avenue and Gulf Boulevard. They were proposing to enter off of the alleyway on 22nd Avenue, go through the building, go through the back parking lot, underneath the building, and then exit onto 22nd Avenue. The county prefers not to have any access off of Gulf Boulevard, but if there's alternatives in place, which there are. So in order to do that, they'd have to make the aisle width 2 feet shorter. So that'd be 22 inches of 2 cars. Well, they'd all be going one way because they're all going to come in one way and then go out the other way. There'll be some parked in the rear that will go out to the alley as well. And also, they are going to not have any parking in the front yard setback. So they're asking to reduce the parking spaces from 10 to 11 spaces provided on site. I did ask in the future that if something happens that they need more parking, there's always a way to open the building up and to access to the front, setback for additional parking. Besides that, I have nothing to add. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody in the commission have questions?
None at this time.
And for purposes of the record, the staff report is the agenda backing materials, correct, Ms. Harmon?
Pardon?
The staff report is in the agenda materials, correct?
Right, yes, and the Board of Adjustment did pass it 3-0.
Thank you. With that, will the applicant or their agent please come forward?
They actually have the old rolled up plans.
We have some plans to share with you guys. We brought a couple copies that you guys can kind of spread out.
For those unfamiliar with these proceedings, ordinarily we are in City Hall and all of this is projected on 3 or 4 different screens. And understand in transmitting that that's a public record that will be retained by the city.
You guys need one?
Just state your name and address for the record and your relationship to the applicant, sir.
My name is Daniel Epperly. I'm with Aero Engineering, civil engineer on the development. My address is 4843 Lake Valencia Boulevard West, Palm Harbor, Florida, 34684.
Proceed, sir.
So, our client is proposing the development of this site located at 2117 Gulf Boulevard. The existing property is currently an office building. Access to the office building is currently along Gulf Boulevard. You currently pull in right off the street into approximately 6 to 7 parking spaces out in front of the property. The rear of the property is an undeveloped alley. It's kind of a dirt, gravel, sand road in the rear. Ultimately, the client would like to continue his retail office on this property. He's proposing a multi-story office building. There's going to be ground level parking on the floor. I guess everyone kind of recently has dealt with hurricanes that we've had. I think you're going to see more and more where people are going to come in and try to elevate their buildings up as much as they can. So he's trying to essentially do ground level parking on the bottom floor and then have 2 floors of office space above. We are requesting a variance. Ultimately, we've had discussions with Hetty, and we appreciate your help with the project so far. We've had discussions with her in Pinellas County. Pinellas County prefers that access and parking for the development no longer comes through Gulf Boulevard, and they would like us to access through 22nd Avenue directly. For that reason, we're proposing to improve the alleyway to the rear of the property and provide parking in the rear of the development behind the building. Due to the constraints and sizing of the lot, the current Indian Rocks Beach parking regulations would not allow us to fit the parking stalls in. So we would like to request a reduction of the drive lane by 2 foot. We would also, in order to fit the building and the appropriate parking in the rear of the development, we would like to reduce the parking from 11 down to 10 spaces.
I have a question. Is this Burt Mallory's property?
No.
No, it's not?
It's right next to it.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Does anybody have any questions of Patty?
this time.
for the applicant. This was all approved by you, Hetty? By the BOA, it was all approved?
Yeah, it was 3-0.
Okay, thank you.
So, unless you have anything else for your presentation on this time we would open it for any comment or anybody else who intends to offer any evidence and testimony on this matter. Mr. Copeland, were you sworn?
I will.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're going to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
All right, will you just state your name and address again for the record?
Bob Copeland, 447 20th Avenue. Don't know the property owner, didn't know anything about the project today until I got here. My comment is, my understanding of the law as to the granting of a variance, it can only be granted if there's a hardship caused to the owner by something they didn't do. This comes up all the time with the docks and lot sizes. And I'm not really sure what's going on, but it sounds like they're putting a little more on the property than it will sustain, which is not a hardship caused by the property, it's a hardship caused by their change in use of the property. But I could be wrong about that, and that's your decision. I've done it a few times outside this room. I know, that's the reason I bring it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Well, Eddie, the hardship is the size of the property, correct?
It's really that they can't access off of Gulf Boulevard.
Can't access off of Gulf
And
Boulevard.
they could afford, they could put more parking in the front setback, but they're not needed for this use they're doing. They're bringing a corporate headquarters, just about 6 people to work on site here.
Okay.
But in the future, like I said, if it's needed, they could provide it.
All right, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this as a public comment?
Seeing none, this time, Hetty, do you have anything else you wish to add in staff report?
Not at this time.
It's your, I was just going to say, you get the final word, sir.
That's right.
The floor is yours.
I would just like to add, based on the comments that we received, ultimately for the project we have, we are within the allowable impervious surface ratio that the Indian Rocks Beach government allows for the project. Additional parking out in front, we would encroach into that impervious surface ratio, which would kind of require us to come back and maybe look at a different type of variance for the project. So after discussing this project with Hetty, we found that this was probably the easier route to go than trying to, like the gentleman said, add more than what's typically allowed on the development. So right now we fall within the allowable impervious surface ratios, the allowable FAR. The only real issue that we have is that the allowable parking stall lengths and drive-through lane won't actually fit in with the property that we have. So we fall within all of the additional regulations. Just with the size constraints of the property, we cannot actually physically put the regulated parking spaces within the development.
If that concludes the public hearing, at this time it would be for you folks to discuss and ultimately resolve how to rule on the variance request.
Does anybody have any reason why they wouldn't approve this variance request?
No, and I do see where they have addressed all of the hardship issues and answered all the questions within the agenda packet that we do have to have studied beforehand.
Thank you. Ron, do you have any questions?
No.
And, do you have any questions about this?
No, ma'am.
At this stage, then we would.
At this stage, then we would be looking for a motion of some sort.
A motion to approve the variance? Or turn it down?
I will make a motion that we approve the variance request.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Absent any further discussion, seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll, understanding that Mr. Bowen not being present will not be voting on this quasi-judicial hearing.
Commissioner Bigelow?
Yes, I approve it.
Commissioner Wyand?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Commissioner Wilson?
I approve.
Mayor Commissioner Hausberg?
Yes.
It stands approved. At this point, we will issue the order as appropriate. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes the hearing on item 6A. We are now on item 6B. This is ordinance number 2025-01. This is the second and final reading and public hearing on the legislative matter of an ordinance of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, amending the comprehensive regulatory scheme regarding the marketing and operation of short-term rentals within the city, amending Article 5, vacation rental regulations within Chapter 18, businesses, amending the ordinance regulating the registration, inspection, safety, and operation of vacation rentals within specified zoning districts in the City of Indian Rocks Beach, amending related definitions concerning permissible occupancy, altering registration requirements, modifying enforcement provisions, amending inspection requirements, amending the duties of designated responsible parties, clarifying life safety requirements, making related findings, providing for codification, supremacy, severability, and for an effective date. This has been the second and final reading of ordinance number 2025-01 by title only. And at this point, as far as staff presentation goes, this has been discussed extensively over the course of several hours in January. Nothing has changed as between first and second reading. It is the same ordinance you discussed then. And so at this point, I tender the hearing to you, commissioners.
Well, I'm going to repeat it again. I'd like to file a motion to put a hold on the reading of 2025-1 so that we can have a workshop on this issue, so that the residents can participate along with the commissioners and the mayor, and we can come to a resolution on this. If the residents are involved in this, instead of going blind and having to depend on us to make the decision for them, it'll be a much better thing if the ordinance goes through. At least it's open, it's being talked about, and it can be evaluated. Do I have anybody that will second this motion?
The motion on the floor is functionally to table the discussion of ordinance 2025-01. Is there a second to the motion to table?
Randy, I just have a question. I was under the understanding that we're under time constraints. Is that still the case with this?
So the posture is such that we were, in August, there was a hearing after the first round of mediation, and at that time, the commission did not approve that version of the ordinance. And so the conventional wisdom was that meant that litigation would resume. The parties, specifically AP6 and its litigation, moved to reopen the litigation, noting the posture of those proceedings and the failure of that ordinance. The court returned us to mediation immediately and administratively suspended the matter again with a directive to, I believe the time period was 120 days, which will be running in the next few weeks here. Apologies, I didn't anticipate specifically the question, so I don't have that tabulation this moment. But we do have we will have to inform the court one way or the other of the posture. How the court will respond to the matter being tabled, I cannot predict, and I will not even endeavor to try. But inasmuch as we were last, the intention was to resolve, if this was to be resolved one way or the other, to have that before the 120-day window was the initial objective.
Will anybody second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Motion to table has been seconded. Procedurally, a motion to table is not debated. It is voted on without debate. And so with that, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bigelow?
What am I voting on?
It's your motion, Commissioner. You're moving to table, which would mean...
I move the table.
You've made that motion. Is it an aye vote?
Aye.
Thank you. I understand that it's frustrating, folks. I'm trying to make clarity and make sure there's no misunderstanding in the process. I know it's frustrating. It's my charge. I'm sorry. So,
Commissioner Bond?
Do you vote?
what did he say?
You're saying yes to table it, Jude?
Okay. Yes from Jude Bond on the record.
Commissioner Wyant? Yes.
Commissioner Wyant votes yes. Folks, I just want to get all the votes recorded,
Vice Mayor
please.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Commissioner Husband?
I guess we're gonna do it.
Well, what's your vote, Commissioner?
We're gonna table it.
What's your vote, Commissioner?
Yes, we're gonna
Okay,
table it.
unanimously tabled. That concludes the hearing on item 6B as it has been tabled. The next item on the agenda is other legislative matters, of which there are none, Madam Mayor. Item 8 is a work session. There is none, Madam Mayor. Item 9 is other business. There is none, Madam Mayor. Unless any of the commissioners have anything further to bring forward. I don't have anything to add.
I would like to explain how we workshop that next time. That we do it without information and we get it spelled out exactly how it is and.
As I submitted to you, were you to review Chapter 286 of the Florida statutes governing public meetings, there is nothing in there about work sessions. That is a function of our local rules. They are all public meetings. Tonight was a public meeting. That will be a public meeting, and it will proceed as such. And we can determine how to proceed once we get there, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.